Hello and welcome, racers, to the Hill is Always Greener Grand Prix, a race where four friends have fast-paced discussions about Sonic the Hedgehog in cars and outside of them to distract themselves from everything else because we have to focus. Deja vu?
I feel like I have been in this place before.
I'm your announcer from the booth with the air conditioning during this warm spring day, RockTheJake.
I'm CyberLink, and please take me back in time to another world. I don't want to deal with this anymore.
I'm GameBuddy, and you must collect 5 tokens and finish it at least third to unlock me.
And I'm Faulerro, and I'm not going down without a fight.
That's the spirit.
I like how we're talking about 3 games, but we keep referencing one particular game.
I mean, one of them's a bit more quotable, really.
Yes. Yeah. I know, not too many memorable dialogue on the Game Gear, from what I recall.
Except for, oh man, the battery ran out.
The most quoted Game Gear line of all time.
So before we get into the episode proper, anybody want to talk about what we've been up to?
Oh, Jake, you're the only one who wants to talk about what you've been up to.
I don't want to bogart the time.
Do it.
Okay, so at the time of this recording, it has been a week since my wife and I got back from our long-awaited, long-pushed-back vacation to Japan. We went to Tokyo and Osaka.
Woohoo!
And it was truly just amazing, and it was awesome. And like just the fact, like, so a little bit of backstory, like separately, we've wanted to go to Japan for a long time in our lives, and then, you know, dating, and when we got married, like, we wanted to go to Japan together, and it was actually going to be our honeymoon, but because my wife was still in school and because of just financials and timing, we had to keep pushing it back year after year. And we at the beginning of this year in 2025, we looked at the calendar and we looked at our finances, and we were just like, you know what? Late April, we can make that happen. So
let's go.
Yeah, so we just did it. We went for it, and I will say, like we were definitely working within like relatively small windows of time of like when we could. So if we could have like bought plane tickets earlier and planned things out earlier, we definitely would have. But as far as like just how quickly everything came together, it was an amazing time. Like I said, we spent most of our time in Tokyo. We did go to Osaka for Universal Studios Japan, and I got to be the biggest man-child in Super Nintendo World. And you know what? I gotta say, like, the Japanese people there, like, especially like the workers, but even like just the regular people, are so incredibly like friendly and kind and so helpful. Because I'll be completely transparent, the first 2 days I was there, especially like the first night that we were there, after like finally getting to the hotel from the airport, I was having pretty bad anxiety. Like I was exhausted, I was tired, I wasn't hungry at all, and like I was just sitting in the hotel room looking out the window and like looking at the buildings, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're in a foreign land. If something bad happens, we're alone in a foreign land. But luckily, like, I slept and I felt so much better, and we just had an amazing time. And yes, as related to this podcast, I did go to Tokyo Joypolis. And
did you break in?
I thought about it, but there's 2 very nice ladies working there helping to get us tickets, so I decided not to. I think so. We definitely want to go back to Japan one day. Like, I don't know when that's going to happen, but we'd love to. I would like to go back to Tokyo Joypolis during a later time in the day, because there's definitely quite a bit to do there. I was solely focused on the Sonic stuff, and I was disappointed that there wasn't a whole lot of Sonic stuff in general there.
Not even Sonic Brain Ranking?
I don't remember the brain ranking.
That's a whole thing.
But I did get to take a picture of myself with the Sonic statue, and that was super cool. Aww. And and just like that whole trip was amazing. And yeah, I've told people about it. I've talked to people at work and friends about it, and you know, like, so many people are like, I want to go to Japan. I'm like, go, absolutely go. Bring a travel buddy, bring a friend, bring a group of people. It's, you know, like, I'm sure some people could make a trip like that work by themselves, but just for the ease of stress in mind, it's so much better to have a travel buddy.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how I would have reacted to the anxiety I was feeling if I was by myself.
Yep, I could definitely relate to that. Definitely remember having similar travel anxieties, even staying within the continental United States. Just because it does just dawn on you like, oh no, I'm a big boy and I'm not at home.
Like, if there's ever been a moment that I felt like that, it was sitting the first night in the hotel room in Tokyo.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I definitely would love to visit someday. I mean, used to be for weeaboo reasons, and now just because I would love to experience like walking around at night and finding like a hole in the wall restaurant just to sit down and get whatever, truly experience the culture.
And we did, yeah. We had a really good mix of like traditional and modern Japanese stuff. Like we saw,
but you were able to get a hamburger, right? So you're okay.
Yeah.
I was able to, but I did not because I just don't eat a whole lot of red meat anyway.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. But we did.
Sorry, I just had you're lost in the middle. You can only speak like 2 words of Japanese, just hamburger, hamburger. And somebody finally points you like, oh, right over there, it's McDonald's. Arigato.
So you know what? The funny thing is, like, for the most part, we did mostly just speak 2 Japanese words, sumimasen and arigato, like the whole time. But because it's very English friendly over there, which is awesome. But I will tell a quick funny story of the fact that I had to, like, while walking through like one of the subway station basically towns, because there's so many shops and stuff down there in some places. I really had to use the bathroom, and so I went up to some ladies who were working at a shop, and I was like, I said, "Sumimasen, do you know where the nearest bathroom is?" And I could tell that they were struggling for a second, like, bathroom, and then it like clicked in my head of like, oh yeah, Duolingo trained me for this. So so I said, toire wa doko desu ka? And they're like, oh, toire.
That's awesome.
I'm so glad Duolingo actually saved you there with their horrible AI practices now.
Yeah. And you slipped in there right before they pulled the final trigger. So
yeah. I don't appreciate or condone their use of AI and not using real people, but I will say doing Duolingo for quite a while it helped me find out where the toilet was.
There you go.
Which is one of the most important things important things a tourist can ask for.
Thanks, you piece of shit owl.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
I taught Jake how to use the bathroom in Japan.
This poor boy's bladder was about to explode, but I helped out.
Now, the most important question about your time in Tokyo: how often did you get chased down by random Japanese men looking for a fight and have to unleash a heat move on them?
Well, I am like 6'1", so not very often.
Oh, I don't know, man. Tall dudes all over Yakuza who are getting like, picked on in the street all the time.
You just have to turn to Quinn and be like, oh, excuse me, honey, I got to take care of this.
Doria! The funny part is we need to get you on Yakuza 0 because literally that game is set in Tokyo and Osaka. So
yes.
It's just in the 80s, so...
But yes, the Tokyo trip was amazing, and I can't wait to put together like a little slideshow reel for friends and family.
Yeah.
And yes, like I said before, if you want to go, like, make a plan, make a budget, and absolutely try to go because it's so worth it. We last thing I'll say is on the right before the flight going there, because we flew all the way from Washington D.C. to Tokyo, which is a 14-hour flight, and we told the flight attendant, like, before hopping on, like, this is our first international trip ever, and they're like, your first one, and you chose the absolute longest one you could do.
Oh man,
we sure did. And one of the other flight attendants mentioned that right now, as of like April and May 2025, Tokyo and Japan are the number 1 tourist spot in the world right now.
Oh boy. And if you get your budget together and you can swing it, get your passports, I believe Japan might still lets foreigners buy property. So just buy a house, renounce your citizenship, stay there, don't come back. Please, for your own sake.
The food is cheaper and better there.
Yeah. Their eggs are so delicious and golden.
Oh my gosh, they are. Oh, I can't even. Oh, the eggs are so good over there. The rolled omelets, the sandwiches.
I think I subconsciously started preparing if I ever do make it to Japan that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to become an egg guy. I eat all kinds of eggs now.
An egg man,
You're going to become an egg man?
Yeah, some sort of egg man, you will.
Some sort of egg gentleman?
Some sort of robot Nick. Anyway. Thank you for sharing.
I got some
Jake.
QP mayo just not too long ago. They had some for cheap in our local Sainsbury's. I was like, I'll have the Japanese mayonnaise. Yeah, it's good. They know how to handle their eggs over there.
Man, that is like my go-to tuna salad is 2 ingredients: Kewpie mayo, tuna, and everything else is just window dressing. It is delicious.
We actually picked up some today because we want to make some tamago sando for some of our lunches this week.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
One of my favorite recent, vocal stem is, I think I've said it before, but it's B-Stars. It's Lego She going, Tamago Sando. I love it. Every time I think about, I could use a good egg salad. Tamago Sando.
Well, we're going from Tokyo to Drift.
There we go.
We're talking about racing games.
Yes, we're talking about 3 racing games today. We're talking about Drift 1, Drift 2, and Sonic R.
Well, the classic era of Sonic racing games, which does not take up a lot of the Sonic racing game history, because Sonic's classic era wasn't actually that long compared to quote-unquote modern Sonic, but we'll get to those, because right now we're in the era of when they were trying to work this stuff out, and boy were they.
Yep.
You are not wrong. And, they threw a lot of spaghetti at the wall, I'll say that.
Yeah, can't say they didn't. They weren't ambitious with these 3 titles. That's for sure.
Yeah, but the fact is that there is a new Sonic racing game coming out this year, so we kind of thought, if not now, then when? So,
Yep.
And since a lot of these games are not long enough to justify like a full episode,
True that.
we kind of felt it might make more sense to just blend them all together in one.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're not just like covering the whole genre. Like back in the day, we're like, let's cover Sonic educational games. Let's find every single Sonic education game, and that's our whole weekend covered. No,
my only regret with that one is we should have probably saved the Pico games for last, so we could end on like a funny the Pico's cute instead of the miserable. I don't even remember what was the name of that thing.
The Didge.
Yes, the Didge, ending on the Didge.
Well, when you're at the end of your rope and you have nothing left, sometimes you do end up in the Didge.
I spent last night in a Didge.
But did you know that Sonic Drift came out in... Well, actually, what year did Sonic Drift come out? That was... it didn't come out...
1994.
In Japan only, on its original release, because we didn't get that. For some reason, they thought that we wouldn't want that one. And to be fair, it's a pretty simple game, but
it's fine.
Basically, it's like we've got Mario Kart at home, or well, not less at home, more of it in your Game Boy, but you've got to fill it with batteries every now and then if you want to take it outside. So,
and by every now and then, you mean on a constant basis.
I mean, yes.
Unless you had that big old DC adapter, which completely negates the purpose of a handheld.
Fun fact, Infinite Wealth makes a really... the newest Yakuza game makes a really great reference to the Game Gear, saying, do you remember the Game Gear responsible for such classic games as Sonic Drift 2? My battery system works a lot like that. No, it does not.
Yeah, I think I keep forgetting that the first Sonic Drift was not an international release, even though it would not have been hard just to release it. I think there's lots of English by default, if not all English.
All they would have had to do is change Eggman to Robotnik.
Which they didn't bother doing in Drift 2 anyway, so...
Yes, so come on.
It's kind of funny because I remember, hearing about Drift 2, I was like, okay, where's the first Drift then? But no, this is the only one we got. That was the only one
What
we got.
happened to Final Fantasy 4 through 6?
Exactly. Yeah, it's a strange thing. But Sonic Drift came out, just not for us. And we would get it later in the multitudinous Game Gear slop releases where they just, we need to fill some space up here. Here's all those Game Gear ones, I suppose. Still guilty of doing that even in Sonic Origins, but hey, that's how I got to replay these, because it's nice and convenient to just be able to play it on my PS5.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, as someone who did not really dive into the Game Gear games on Sonic Origins, because when it happened, I was like, well, that's nice, I guess, but those games look and play really good on that. Looks a lot better than Sonic Adventure DX from what I remember, and that's cool.
Yeah. When I was getting ready to play Sonic Drift 2 on Sonic Origins Plus, I got worried for a little bit because it seemed like there was a little bit of lag between my controller and the menu like picking, but once the game actually started up, it was like right on the dot. So thank goodness for that. Yay.
I think that all of us would have first played. I don't think any of us owned a Game Gear back in the day, so I'm assuming that most of us first played this when they were added as like bonus unlockables in like Sonic Adventure DX on the GameCube.
I think I have a Game Gear I found at a thrift store up somewhere that I have no games to test on. So, but no, I did have a Game Boy, did not have a Game Gear.
I think my first and only Sega console was the Dreamcast.
It's obvious that, they're looking to ape the popularity of Super Mario Kart, which had, just come out 2 years prior. They're like, well, if Mario can do it, then obviously Sonic has to do it too. That's the law. But I feel like, Jeremy brought up this point before we started recording that it feels more like Outrun than it does Super Mario Kart.
Yeah.
I've always loved the arcade version of Outrun, and so when I started playing, especially the first drift like that, it kind of clicked better for me. I can't find, it's actually in the comments on the Spriters resource, there's someone that's saying, that it might be based on the Super Monaco, GP engine, which was a Sega arcade game back in the day. Which would make sense. I don't want to repeat Scuttlebutt without knowing for sure. But yes, once I realized like, okay, I'm trying to approach this from a more modern racing game and got to put myself back in the past.
It does feel like, kind of carrying on the spirit of like the arcade racers of that era.
Because it was trying to be Mario Kart, but it can't do Mario Kart on the Game Gear. It can't do any of that Mode 7 stuff that made it work. So they're working with their limitations as well as they can.
It does have a similar layout, similar like character size, and I actually played some Super Mario Kart, which is not a game I grew up with, and also saw like, oh, okay, I see what they were going for. Also, that game is weird and hard. That original Super Mario Kart.
But that's the one. That's all they had to base the idea of doing a platformer-based racing game on, I suppose, was Mario Kart. So you can see a few things pulled from there. Certainly, in terms of the fact that characters have their own individual weapons in this one. That was a thing that was really only in the original Mario Kart. And I suppose technically Double Dash. I suppose, but yeah,
it's different here, which I find really interesting in that it is, every character has their specific ability, but they can only do it by collecting rings on the track and then spending them to activate it, which, I feel like we've seen that system in some other games beyond just, how most kart racers will do hey, if there's item boxes on the track, grab one to get a random thing. You don't see you see very few that do the character specific, collect a resource and then spend it kind of system, which I like. I think that that's an interesting way of doing things.
I think I might prefer it to what gets used in most modern Mario Karts and Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, at least in the beta I played, was where coins and rings make your acceleration better. I don't know. That always kind of rubbed me the wrong way because obviously they're also designed to be lost when you get hit or fall off the stage. I like the system of like, okay, I can gather up rings and save all my boosts for the last lap or use them when I get them to build a lead. I like the little bit of strategy to that.
I don't think I'd ever actually played Sonic Drift before getting ready for this episode, and admittedly, the first time I played, I was bad at it. I kept crashing into stuff all the time. but when I started to understand the controls more, and especially like relying on the brake to help me drift more, because Sonic Drift, it started to make more sense and started to click for me, and I was able to start getting like first place in more races, and I enjoy it. I think I'd probably like go back and play it every now and then just for a little like old school racing fix. Yeah, it took me a while as well to figure out the fact that like each character has their own special item or their own special ability. Like Sonic's is just being able to boost quickly, and I thought that was a neat addition as well. The only thing I can detract from it, and that's only because of me being the age I am and my eyes being what they are, the scrolling blue and lighter blue track was a little bit jarring and hurting on the eyes. but
it's a cool effect, but it is a little stroby.
Yes. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed my time with it. It's very cute, and I also like the fact that full disclosure, I looked on YouTube about it, but like all the characters have their own endings for the
those are super cute.
Like Eggman's is very silly, and I enjoyed that.
He's just neener to Sonic as he's fuming in the foreground. Yeah, I love that Eggman has like his big giant mouth is always open
when he's driving past.
I will happily blow up myself on here and say, you know what's something you should probably do if you go and play classic games that you haven't played in a long time or never have? Look up the manual. Because that'll actually tell you how to play the game like manuals used to. Because I, in both Sonic Drifts, didn't realize you had to press up to use items, or that there were even special items in the first Sonic Drift, or that there was an accelerate button in Sonic R.
Those how to play sections in the compilations are there for a reason, because it is not obvious otherwise.
I don't understand why I keep losing. The game did not. Anyway,
the game's bad.
It is funny though that you say that it's called Sonic Drift for a reason, and you can drift, but you don't want to do it too much. Despite that you kind of discourage it. If you keep drifting, you will spin out.
Yes,
just like real life.
You gotta feather the button.
Mm-hmm. It is worth talking about the fact that there's only 4 characters in this, by the way. Probably who you'd think they were at this point of Sonic, which is Sonic, Tails, Robotnik / Eggman, and Amy Rose. And Mario.
This would have been like basically just after Sonic 3 came out, or like right around that time.
Yeah.
So Knuckles was maybe a little bit too new to make his way in there at this point.
Sorry, Jeremy just shared this great official art of the 4 available characters. I keep forgetting that Amy's got like a flippin' Roger Rabbit car with the eyes.
Before he became a taxi. I mean, it's like almost the exact same face. I think the car's name is the Breeze Typhoon.
Oh, no, wait, isn't hers the Breeze and the Typhoon?
It's just the Breeze. Eggman drives the Egg Typhoon.
That's it.
Oh, sorry. Was misread some kerning on this site. Yeah. My bad. Yes, their name is a Breeze.
Not to be confused with Breezy, which if Amy was driving, it would be very concerning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that scene from, what is it, Turbo Teen, except it's Breezy transforming into a car.
Somebody just got turned on.
Yeah, you probably, if you've seen this artwork before, it was included in the Sonic the Screensaver. And I remember that's probably where I first learned, like, wait, there's some kind of Sonic racing game? I love the individual, like Eggman has the Egg-O-Matic. It's so funny. I think it's called the Egg Typhoon, like y'all said. But yeah, Sonic and Tails just have like real sports cars. I think Sonic's could be based on
No, Sonic's is definitely a Ferrari. Like, the Outrun influence is right there.
Yes, it's Sonic's car is probably modeled after a Ferrari F40, and Tails is a Lotus 7.
That's kind of fun. Like, Sonic's car is so cool looking. It's like the kind of bed that he sleeps in Archie.
Yes, literally.
His car bed. But the main issue here that we keep driving over, I suppose, is the fact that Sonic is in fact driving a car, and that is why Sonic Drift sucks. No, sorry, Mark. Sorry, our good buddy Sonic Mark.
Would you believe me if the comments again on Spriter's Resorts are just made up of people quoting that? The Sonic Shorts living legacy.
It's great. It is a question people legitimately ask, though. It's like, why is Sonic in a car? He's faster on foot. Well, for one reason, play Sonic R and you'll find out why.
Because it's not fair.
Yeah, but that's it. Like someone, there was an article not too long ago. I wish I could remember what it was, but they basically I'm sick of having to answer this. Why is Sonic in a car? Because it's a flipping car race, and he wants to participate. You think he's just going to go out there and go at the speed of sound and outclass everyone? Then he's not racing properly, is he? You dinguses. Anyway, that's why Sonic drives a car.
And I mean, I think it's perfectly in line for Sonic, because I mean, Sonic owns a plane. He's obviously has some affinity for vehicles.
Yeah.
So he would just be like a car guy.
I don't take those people seriously anymore because they ask that question, why is Sonic in a car in a race where he has to go over water and in the air and over lava and everything? It's like, please actually think before you say things that are stupid.
Why isn't Sonic in a car? We all know he can fly and swim. Those are factors of Sonic the Hedgehog. I've played Sonic the Hedgehog games, clearly. But Sonic R is... Sorry, we're jumping ahead there. Sonic Drift is pretty alright. But not very... The track selection is interesting in the first one because it's just basically the levels from Sonic 1. But they change the layout for each version of the GP. But
yeah, it reminds me a lot of the original Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing in that way, where you have one theme with 3 different variants.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten about that.
Yeah, all of them have different layouts, but it is just, they just decided, Green Hill, people won't get sick of that, Marble... Spring Yard, Labyrinth. We can drive underwater. It's fine. No, I'm assuming this is above the surface of Labyrinth, Starlight, and Scrap Brain. That's a perfectly safe place to drive. It's fine for what that is. No actual existing Sonic tracks from music wise from that because they probably don't want to cut a check for Masato Nakamura again.
No.
And they probably just want to have their own original soundtrack for this. The only recurring song from the Sonic franchise that's here is whenever you get an Invincibility, you get that recurring You Can Do Anything track that's also in one of the 8-bit Sonic games prior to this. I think Sonic 2 8-bit?
Yeah, it's 2.
Yeah.
I really liked it just because I recognized, hey, wait, I know that.
I actually did trigger a bug at one point where it wouldn't stop playing You Can Do Anything until the race was over.
Oh well. Sounds like a feature to me.
You really can't do anything.
Toot toot, Sonic Warrior. And you could toot toot on a car, I suppose.
Great job. Yeah, I ended up really liking the first Sonic Drift. It is, like we said, pretty limited. It does have it has the different difficulties for the Grand Prix, but it is the same stages, which, like I said, I found out the original Mario Kart does that too. It has original stages, but some of them are just the same themes with different layouts. And it was pretty good.
It's pretty good. The only thing is, I do think 6 tracks is maybe a bit long for a GP. Maybe I'm a bit too Mario Kart brained at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because even the original Mario Kart has 5 at most, right, per Grand Prix?
I think, yes. It was funny to see my lap times on some of those were literally 10 seconds.
Yeah. But then you get to true to form, Marble Zone will slow you down and take a while and be a real pain. So that feels about right.
But yeah, I was impressed with the like Jake said, the effect they use to kind of cheat and make it look like you're going very fast can strain your eyes a bit. I did appreciate it. Looks pretty good. I do feel like I'm going quite fast on this tiny little half of a screen on the Game Gear. But the I like the color palette is very nice. The characters themselves are very expressive, like we said. You've got some really nice portraits while you're racing. Tails is especially cute because he's in full big nose mode. Yeah, for the most part, I liked the first Sonic Drift.
It's a pretty good little game, I think.
Yeah, it's fine, if maybe a little simple, and it both in its execution and its difficulty level.
Yeah.
Reminding myself that this is a portable game from the early 90s that was, marketed towards children. Like, yes, pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, special thanks to Wahaha. Sorry, when I was playing through the ending, I'm like, special thanks to just someone who's called. I mean, this was back during the time period where lots of game developers would use like pseudonyms, and Wahaha came up.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And yes, a good old classic congratulation. Just one. One
Just a single
congratulations.
That's all you get on
One.
bit. Two notes, by the way. I did point this out in the chat before, but while everyone has special abilities, Amy's is called the Heart Attack. And I'm like, haha, so she finally got her hands on the Death Note, I see.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. And hitting you with the true power of Killer Queen.
Yeah. All it is you get like disoriented by a floating cartoon heart. It doesn't actually murder you.
And I do find it funny that that's basically what one of her abilities in 2-player for Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
Oh, yeah.
You associate hearts with Amy. Oh, by the way, if you hit, I forgot about this note. I don't know. I think this is in the second one as well. Whenever you're invincible, if you hit a spring, it cancels it out. And I feel like it's a bit. I guess they just couldn't have too many things going at once.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
That disappointed me. Yeah, especially because sometimes an invincibility would be really close to a spring, and like, yeah, I'm invincible.
I mean, it's not the same driving over a spring and not hearing Sonic go, woohoo!
Woohoo! Woohoo!
I can only imagine that might have been one of those, if where they're like, if you hit an item after invincibility, the game explodes. Well, just have it cancel it out. We got to ship in 2 days.
But that's Sonic Drift 1, and there's not much else to say about it, I don't think, because it's kind of just that.
Yeah.
Right? Anyone else got anything to say about this one game?
I did make notes about the endings that like Eggman's is very silly, Tails' ending is very cute, Sonic's ending is about as standard as it comes, and the only thing I wrote for, and this is because it was a product of the time, but Amy is a girl.
Yeah.
Her ending is just like her like celebrating winning and then like chasing down Sonic, so
Oh yeah, and I think I even saw an image of it. I think isn't he also doing the classic Amy coming in for a hug and he's like, don't touch me.
Yeah, I think so.
Personal space.
Which I was catching up on IDW the other day because local library finally having another like digest of it, and it was cute to see like Amy give Sonic a hug and he was just like, "Oh, thanks." I was like, "Yay!"
Oh yeah, yep.
Sorry, quick. You mentioned that. I've recently actually caught up on IDW, and I'm like, there are issues. Of course, there are issues. It's a comic. There are issues with it, but I will say, I'm looking at it. I'm like, God, sorry, you kids, you don't know how good you've got it now. This comic's really good.
Yes,
It's really, really good, and you're getting so much stuff for it, and we're getting all these figures coming out of the characters.
I know, Tangle's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll find her someday.
You'll love to see it.
I was reading the Warp Topaz issue, and man, the art is incredible in that one. It's so good.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, that's the Sonic's 900th Adventure, or whatever it was called. Yeah. That's the one that's got the Nigel Kitching story in it. Nigel Kitching 4 pages of the story, I should say.
Yeah.
And it's very... At first I was like, it doesn't feel any... Oh, there's my Nigel, up to his usual shenanigans. He's writing a story that's got Metal Sonic in it, of course.
Yep.
Very good.
I know, not to jump ahead, but since we mentioned the man, the pinup for the anniversary of Sonic R is also amazing.
Oh, Richard Olsen's amazing art of Sonic R. Ooh.
Yes, excuse me.
I mean, they're so connected. It's you can't help it. You can't shake them apart now.
Yep. The fact that he's like adjusted his style to, I mean, that is still a very marked, I love it, a STC style Sonic with just some more like classic Sonic sensibilities. But the fact that his Tails, the Tails doll has the proportions of a STC Tails with that big old forehead chasing Tails, who is more of a Japanese influence. But man, just what a cool piece of art.
It's very good.
So I suppose there's only one place to go now, and I suppose that's Sonic Drift 2, right?
I believe so.
AKA Sonic Drift, the finished version.
Yeah, basically. I was going to say this is what they were aiming for with the first one, I think.
Yep. It's the one that's we got all our returning characters, and also we got Knuckles, we got Metal Sonic, we have Fang. Yes, we do. He is here, and it kind of looks like he flips you off in the game a few times.
Yeah, he would.
He would.
He would.
Yeah, this was released almost a year later to the day in Japan. The previous one was March 18th. This was March 17th. And then again, April in Europe and November in North America. So a little bit of a gap, but
not that we would have noticed anyway, because this is the first one we got. So
yeah,
it's just mysteriously number 2.
Definitely called just Sonic Drift 2. Although apparently called Sonic Drift Racing in Europe. Like they were like, hold on, we didn't get the first one. Let's just make some adjustments. And just everywhere else, they were like, whatever. Who cares?
I had no idea because I never saw it in the wild anyway. I didn't have a Game Gear.
Like, objectively, this is an improvement on Sonic Drift.
Yeah.
It's also much harder.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
In my limited time with it, I'm like, I don't think I can dedicate the time I usually do to getting good at this.
Yeah.
I do acknowledge that it is, like you said, the finished / gooderer version of Sonic Drift.
Yeah.
I would like to say that Knack is a freaking butthole. I hate him.
He is. And I wouldn't want it any other way.
Oh, second time I've thought that recently. It's good, actually. For what it is,
yeah.
I quite like it.
Yeah, my main note that I wrote down about it with the limited amount of time that I had to play it was that they took the first game and made it a little bit better, which is what a sequel should be, especially like back in those days for like a racing game. And I appreciate that the tracks have different layouts, so it's not just like the blue and lighter blue that's kind of hurting the eyes. Like I'm watching some gameplay of it right now as we're talking about it, just to refresh my memory on certain parts. And like the second level has the more like Green Hill checkerboard kind of looking track, and that's very visually appealing. I like it.
I like that that a lot of the tracks are, instead of just having you do 3 laps around, it's just one long track.
Yes, I really like that.
It feels, it adds a little bit more variety. And I also like that, this one adds like banking curves where you can like launch off the ramps and stuff. Like that's super cool.
I was about to probably foolishly say, oh, did they beat Mario Kart to that, having just one long track instead of laps? I'm like, oh, again, that was like an outrun thing.
Okay, yeah. I was going to mention that, yeah.
You weren't racing on a track, it just, yeah.
Thankfully, without all like the checkpoint times and everything, so you can just play it. But lots of more varied levels here. There are plenty of some straight from the games, mainly from Sonic 2, I think, and a little bit of Sonic 3, but lots of original ones too. I like the first original one you come across is Dark Valley, and oh dear, that's the third track on the first GP, and you can fall off, so
yeah,
that's a real pain.
Yeah,
because the AI in this one is trying to murder you. They've learned how to use all their weapons all the time, and they will. So watch out. It's quite chaotic, I think.
That's why I hated Fame, because like it seemed like every time that I was around him or behind him, he was always throwing whatever those little brown pellets are, like just constantly.
Yeah.
I'm not worried. When a small marsupial is throwing brown pellets at me, I'd have to check what these are.
I think they're supposed to be oil balls, and it's the same as if you crashed into like an obstacle in the course versus I think Eggman or someone else has like you spin out.
My thing is that like I feel like every time I tried to pass somebody, they would end up like moving over so that I hit them from behind and spin out.
Oh, I hated that. That happened to me a lot.
The collision was also weird. I couldn't really get a feel for it like Mario Kart. The Mario Kart's weight system is not incorporated here, so it seemed like I would spin out for no real reason. I feel like that should almost be reversed. Like if you hit somebody going fast enough from behind, maybe they should spin out.
Yeah.
There's also just a lot more stuff on the tracks, like little ramps and obstacles and stuff.
Yeah.
And like every once in a while, you would, if you're close enough but not quite enough to spin out, you'll see your character like kind of nick the sides of an obstacle and slow down just a smidge.
I think there's even like badniks on the track as well that you can turn off in the options. And I did because I'm like, come on, give me a chance here. But yeah, like we said, everything is like a big improvement. The characters are still super expressive and fun to watch. I like how they do peek back at you at various points, and like Sonic gives like a sarcastic thumbs up whenever he passes someone, which is pretty cute.
There are just going to be some characters that you don't want to play as, unfortunately, because someone has written up basically a tier list, but basically like acceleration, top speed, and handling, and some of them, like there's rarely ever any good reason to be playing as Amy or Robotnik. I'm afraid to say that.
Yeah,
they did not make out well here. Amy really struggles, unless you really like Amy Rose, and I'm sure Prismira is coming to bat for her in any situation. So.
Maybe I can almost hear her voice saying like, why does she need to be the best? Why does she have to win? Why can't she just enjoy her time on the tracks?
Just let women race.
Just say you race women.
I do like that both of these games let you just play through a track on a free run, like no time trial, just driving as long as you want until you want to quit.
Yeah,
yeah, great.
I like that kind of practice mode.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good way for me to like play with the characters and see what their items were and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I might in the future want to, because my knee jerk reaction was like, oh no, this is too hard to be fun. But as we're talking about it, I'm like, I might have to go back to Sonic Drift 2 on Origins Collections and at least see if I can win a couple of Grand Prix races.
I feel like they've really, scaled up the presentation as well. Like I immediately think of the Milky Way track,
that rules.
Second to last,
where
you're racing in space and then slowly the Death Egg comes into view.
It is pretty much it feels like a Rainbow Road in terms of presentation. It's quite cool. And of course, the fact that there's a Death Egg in this is also cool. I love that there's a Death Egg. Where you race around Robotnik's head.
I think, mentioned briefly in our Death Egg episode.
Yep.
You did.
Yep, that is pretty cool.
And the fact that you can, if you get if you win every race on that last GP, you can have like a secret final race against Eggman or Sonic, depending on who you're playing as.
Just gotta get first place for each one, and when you do, it plays the Sonic 3 boss music, I think.
Ooh.
Because, by the way, this came out before Sonic and Knuckles, right? I'm not mistaken on that. At the very least, they were...
2 was after Sonic and Knuckles. Because this was 95.
Right. Oh, right. Oh, interesting. Well, I guess they weren't working with much Sonic and Knuckles info anyway, because a lot of stuff here feels a bit Sonic 3, because the invincibility music is the Sonic 3 one.
Yes, that is correct.
And there's a desert level in this, and it's not Sandopolis; it's desert road. So, but Ice Cap is in here. So, and of course Knuckles.
Just straight up Ice Cap. Knuckles in his cool Jeep.
I do want to ask, like, because of the updated roster, like, if y'all remember, who was your first choice when you first started playing the game? Because I can say for me it was Metal Sonic, because I thought that was super cool.
I'm always the boring one, and I always choose Sonic first in any Sonic game, because he's my guy.
I did that with Sonic Drift 1, because I was like, well, I've got to play as all of them, and I'm going to go with Sonic because he's probably got the most balanced stats. I played as Knuckles first on Sonic Drift 2, though, because, come on.
Look at him. He's the guy.
He is the guy.
He's the guy.
Yeah, I think his Jeep is actually modeled after an original Hummer, which is kind of cool.
That's what it looked like, yeah.
You know, the cool Hummers that can go like completely vertical on the side of a wall and not the ones that, you know, cause a city's worth of pollution driving down the street.
That's kind of appropriate because there's those sort of quasi ramps, those little ramps on the side of the road that you were getting like ice cap and stuff, which are kind of cool to
kind of reminds me of the Sonic 2 special stages. Just
little half pipe.
The course of being a half pipe.
It's pretty cool. Also, Emerald. Sorry, I'm looking at Emerald Hill. I'm like, oh yeah, this really is like Outrun now.
Yeah, because of the beach,
the beach on the side there.
Outrun in a Sonic racing game, it'll never happen.
But Rainy Savannah, by the way, I don't know if you guys had this problem. Boy, as someone who has photosensitive issues, that one's a bit strong on the eyes.
Oh yeah, I can see the transparency effect.
All of the lightning and everything, and I'm just like, well, this was the time when they didn't care about that kind of thing.
Well, I mean that's kind of a thing that was pervasive in both games, especially in Drift 2, because like every time you'd get hit with one of Eggman's mines or something, it would flash as you spin out.
Oh yeah. I even wonder if those effects were a little bit more muted on original hardware, and in, you know, modern emulators it's just much more clearer and problematic, unfortunately.
Maybe. Also worth noting, Emerald Ocean, which is a track where you've got to keep driving, otherwise you sink. I like that, because you're on the water, I guess. That's why you drop down by a little, like, combi catcher, little or UFO catcher, I suppose, right onto the track, and then you have to start driving, because otherwise you drown. Well, you don't actually drown in this one.
If Amy's car falls in, would it drown?
Oh no!
Only if it's the dip, because apparently.
Oh no!
Yeah.
You flooded my carburetor, Amy. Where the hell did you learn to drive?
And of course, we have to shout out Metal Sonic's vehicle, the Blue Devil, clearly named by Crazy Carl.
Just like, you know, why is Sonic driving a car? Shut up. Why is Metal Sonic driving a car? Because that's the mission. His mission is to be better than Sonic the Hedgehog at driving.
Why is Metal Sonic not the car?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that'd be dope.
Turns into like the rocket from Sonic the Fighters.
I like his unique item is a faster speed dash than Sonic, but it costs 3 rings instead of 2. So, just part of Metal Sonic's whole thing.
Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. Yeah, everyone else needs 2 rings. He needs 3 because his one is slightly faster. No, it goes longer. Actually, it's not faster.
Dad said I could use more rings.
Needs those rings to power his tummy laser.
Stop making fun of it. Fuel efficiency is not one of my strong suits.
Oh, but yeah, basically, I forgot that to unlock that final GP one-on-one battle, you need to collect emeralds. That's the whole thing, and that's basically just by getting first place. You get emeralds as you do that.
Yep, you can still win, but you won't get all the emeralds. You have to come in first place every time.
Yep.
Yeah, Drift 2 it's interesting. Like there's clearly thought that got put into it. I think it's, a really interesting game that is largely kind of restricted by its hardware and the fact that there just was not a whole lot of, other games to kind of draw inspiration from outside of, Sega's other arcade racers and what little they pulled from Mario Kart. So it's like, you get the feeling that on stronger hardware with hindsight, they probably could have made something a lot more interesting, which, would be true of racing games for Sonic that would come much, much later down the road.
Yeah, I really wonder if this would be, I was going to say well-remembered, just remembered in general if it had been a Genesis or, even a Master System game and had access to just a little bit more just more features that would come from being a full-size console game.
It's basically just a practice round for what might come in the future, because I suppose they can't really bring out a Mega Drive one on this and hope that it works out all right. It's a nice sort of testing ground, and I think it's fun. Like on its own. I mean, it's stressful and a pain in the butt, but it's pretty good.
It's one of those to where, and I don't want to put my foot in my mouth because I don't think we've covered Sonic Labyrinth just yet, but one of those to where, okay, actually going back to most of these Game Gear games, just about all of them have something that is worth checking out.
Yeah, definitely.
Sonic Chaos, the Tails games, Triple Trouble. I have really enjoyed all of those for various reasons. So I was pleasantly surprised with these two little racing games.
Sonic Drift is alright. I think it's one of those ones that people just have like a really bad opinion about it because it's Sonic's racing and it's on the Game Gear and nobody plays Game Gear.
That one
games.
Sonic short.
Yeah.
It's all your fault, Sonic Mark. What did you do? Mr. Drawing actual official covers for Sonic Media now.
See what happens? You make fun of Sonic, they hire you and give you money.
Yeah, I'm glad that these games are still easily available for people who want to try them. Like, there was a point where this one was even on like 3DS Virtual Console for a few bucks.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that people who want to check them out still can, because like obviously they are not, I would not say that they are as good as many of the racing games that came later, but they are still an interesting curiosity and worth at least, spending 10-15 minutes just kind of messing with, if nothing else.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like they're solidly built. They're not like glitchy or bad handling in any way. Like you just need to spend like a few minutes getting used to how it controls, and especially getting used to like how it looks for your eyes, which like Chris said, like if you are somebody with photosensitivity issues, like take your time. But I would definitely say these are like worth your time to check out, especially if you're yearning for like an old school racing game.
Yeah, as long as you're willing to engage with the games on their terms, then I think you'll probably have a decent time.
And like I said, part of the reason I played Super Mario Kart after these was to get a perspective, and I found them to be similar experiences for me. Like I said, didn't grow up with Super Mario Kart, and so there was also a learning curve. But just one of those to where like, yep, it's an older game. If you have no nostalgia for it, just be prepared to be a little patient. Which might be I don't know. I don't think that's too much of an ask for our audience. Just like, hey, it's an older game. Games were different back then. Sometimes they were, if you want to call it, janky. But yeah, give it a try. If you've never checked these, played the Drift games, I go for it. You probably own a Sonic game that has them in there.
Yeah.
And if you get you make your way through the whole ordeal, you get a really cool shot of the end screen. It's a little something like this, I think.
Good Lord. Did you just put that together?
I might have when you pointed out on the Sprayer's resource page of the little
Sorry, we're going, yes. I'm sure this image will be incorporated, but it is the cute black and white photo from the credits of Sonic Drift 2, except it has been placed onto the Undertale bad ending screen where everyone but Sonic's face has been scribbled out. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
And it's still better than Sonic.exe.
Low bar.
Yeah.
Yep. You know what else is? Our next game.
I mean,
now this is the game that the racing game that everybody remembers for good or for ill.
Yep. I mean, I don't mind saying off the top that this is a game that every time I think about it, like, oh yeah, Sonic R, it's okay. And then when I go back to play it, I'm always like, no, this is actually pretty fun and really charming. And holy crap, this soundtrack whips out.
Yes, absolutely.
It is a guilty pleasure game for me. I've spent far too much time playing this game over the years, as evidenced by the fact that I can beat it in like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
This is also a Sonic racing game that is marred partially only because of online jokes and specific online creators who have made very short jokes that have stuck around for years.
Can't imagine doing something like that, huh?
Right?
And to be fair, it takes some getting used to, because it's hard to call this a straight up racer when it's also kind of a platformer as well. Because Sonic is out of his car. Okay, fine, we'll take him out of his car. See how you like it. So now all the Sonic characters who can run are running, and anyone who isn't is just back in their vehicle because they can't be asked. So it's not a very fair race for anyone involved, but I think it's interesting. But you've got to get used to it and also read the instructions. Why did I not read the instructions?
Yes.
I didn't know there was an accelerate button. I didn't know you could turn the corners with the shoulder buttons. I sure as hell didn't know there was a spin dash, although I didn't really need that in the end, apparently. It's crap.
It's completely useless. I want to say at the front that of course, I first played this through the Gems collection. I didn't own a Saturn, did not own the PC version. But I did replay this on a version of the old PC version. A improved copy of the PC version, which if you go to the various mod sites, I've got mine on Game Banana. In fact, I think we'll have a link in the description. You have the Sonic R Updater, which if you just take an old EXE that's available places, wink, wink, it will update the game to I think it was the 2004 PC port, and then install the mod manager and various other improvements in there, and you're ready to experience Sonic R on a modern PC with a bunch of quality of life improvements. I paired that with the literally called the Sonic R Improvement mod, which just kind of tweaks everything, makes it control much better with a gamepad, tweaks some of the difficulty, makes most of the characters more viable, I'll say, instead of, unfortunately, like the Sonic Drift games, Amy and Eggman kind of get the short end of the stick as being the two vehicle users. But I went back into this, like I said, playing a improved version, and dang, it was a lot of fun.
I do love that this recurring element of all of us are playing it normally, and Jeremy's like, no, I made it good.
Well, it's one of those to where not only did I want to have something unique to say, but like, I think I've said that before. Like, I remember what it felt like on other platforms, and I'm telling people, like the adventure titles, if you've never played this before, why not give yourself the best experience possible?
No, you're right.
I'm definitely not that person who's like, well, you didn't really play it. Like, no, if you want people to like actually enjoy or take good memories from this and not just not just get their opinions from YouTube, then you got to give them a chance. Just saying, the options are out there.
Yeah,
it's true.
And I did play the Gems collection for this, which is the one I played for the first time. I've not played the Saturn version. I didn't have it on the Saturn. And I know and I believe the Gems version is based on the PC version, which is an update of the Saturn version.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the original. So I'm not even playing the original one. I'm playing an emulated, updated version of a port of the original. So, there are lots of different ways to play this one. And that's probably, to be fair, that's the most convenient way to do it, is probably the Gems collection version, because annoyingly, this is one of those Sonic games which didn't get released on, like, officially in the modern day. Like, I was like, I wonder if I got that in that big selection of Sonic games that AE Double bought me. Nope. Okay, that's one of the ones that didn't make it. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame since, like I said, from what I played, the vanilla PC version, I think, still functions, at least the 2004 release. So
it takes a little doing, but you can get it to function. I still have my PC disc. I played Gems Collection for this episode, but I've still got my PC disc that I think I got in like a 4-pack of Sonic PC games back in like 2002, 2003 or something.
Nice. Yeah, I think I've told the story before, but like I actually did play Sonic R like a long time ago because my parents got I think 3 different Sonic games from like Office Depot on disc each, and they're each in just like white little CD envelopes. I think it was Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, and then Sonic R. And I remember playing Sonic R, and I must have had like a haunted copy or something like that because there was no music playing and it was just the footsteps the entire time. And I've
heard that's a recurring. I've heard that is a thing in certain copies of it. I don't think it's just. I don't think your one is customized. Don't worry about that.
I think that it's probably. I can't remember if I tried this on my copy, but it's probably like what happens with me when I play the old PC ports of 3D Blast and CD, where if you have another CD in the drive when you're trying to play them, it will like pull the music tracks from that CD.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But
or even something connected to like if the copies you had weren't 100% legit or weren't copied properly, it left out that I think, what does it use? ADX audio, which is very high quality, but was hard to work with. Like if you've ever tried to properly emulate like you said, a Sega CD game, you got to get those bin Q files and whatnot. And
like, yeah, if it was copied bad or made bad, yeah, that would make sense, especially if it was in white little CD envelopes. But it was cool playing this game, in preparation for this episode, because I remember playing it back in the day, and even like when I was younger, thinking like, is this a finished game or not? And just because of the way it looked and the way it sounded, and then hearing like the the jokes online forever and ever about it. But then coming back and playing it for this episode, I was like, oh, this game actually controls a little bit tighter than I thought. Still not like super tight, but like a lot better than what I remember it playing as. And I like, especially, again, while we're talking about it, I'm also watching a video of somebody doing like a long play of it. And this guy makes it look freaking easy. And I want to, and I kind of want to like go back and like play this some more, especially with like the routing that this guy does and just like the different, it's cool that the level design in this game it's still like racing track, but it's so open where you can really like find shortcuts and do your own thing in it. It's super cool.
You kind of need to find shortcuts because that's where a lot of the collectibles are.
Yes.
And if the AI is on hard mode, where they will go and you'll be like, wait, I was like 2 miles ahead of them. How'd they catch up? Before we started, I just went back to play a little bit with the other characters and was just doing time trial modes and just exploring. And I'm like, wow, this is kind of nice. Like I feel like Sonic R was one of those that got trashed in the online era because again, people only played it through Jim's collection or just were starting the old like, old Sonic games, they're not good either. And I just find Sonic R incredibly charming. Yeah. Even if the original controls take a lot of getting used to, and like it's obviously not very super well balanced, but I love how it looks. It's such a I guess it mostly reminds me of like the original Spyro the Dragon games, where it's very colorful.
Yeah.
But the skyboxes and the textures are all they're just right. They're not too muddy. It's like, no, this is what 3D games look like back then. And I think it makes up for it with design and just these cute little low poly characters. Like, I think that's the ultimate test, is that I would say the Sonic fandom as a whole now loves this style, this, pre-adventure 3D Sonic. And maybe like back in the day, it was like, look how crappy this looks and yada, yada, yada. And I'm glad the worm has turned for the better on at least on how Sonic R looks.
You do need to, I suppose, look at it from the context of when it came out, because I think people were desperate for Sonic games right now, because Sonic 3D was already out, but that's as much as we like it. If you were on the Saturn and that was like the only game you had, you're like, well, it's not really a proper Sonic game, is it? It's not quite what I was hoping for. So you're like, you want some Sonic, and what you got here is this definitely not a proper Sonic game. It's its own thing. It's a different genre. But it's still pretty cool. Like, I don't know. It's one that I don't have the context of what it was like to play as back then, because I had a Saturn, but I didn't have this. It was one I wanted because it was a Sonic, and that's all I wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
But it does look really cool. It's like, it's of that era of the Sega blue skies, if you will, where everything was really bright and saturated and looked great in the new 3D that they were experimenting with. It was like, when did Sonic Jam come out? Because had they done 3D Sonic at this point?
Sonic Jam was June 1997, so
just before this, then, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've just starting to dip their toes into 3D Sonic, and this was the first. And I've got to tell you, when I first saw this in magazines, I was spellbound by it. I really wished I could play it, because when you're younger, this shit looks cooler than it does now. Like, when you're younger, you're seeing just screenshots of you, like, oh my god, there's Sonic running around in a city that's like the city I live in. He's running off into the horizon. Sonic that's how I truly want Sonic to be, is running around in the world. Oh man, I can't wait to put my hands on this, and I couldn't, because nobody could afford those games back then. And the only context I had for it was I had a friend who told me, oh yeah, I've played it, it's alright. I'm like, oh, what's it like? Well, you turn it on, and the first thing you hear is, Supersonic R. I'm like, is that the song? What? Yeah, that's how it goes. You got a Supersonic R. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well,
cool.
I mean, I think we've joked about it before, but that literally was a thing, boys and girls, back in the day, where you would see pictures in game magazines, or a sub 240 trailer on your dial-up modem, and just be blown away, because, like, how could games look any better than this? Yeah. Where could they possibly go?
I remember. Yeah, speaking of dial-up modem, I remember like going to the official Sonic Adventure 2 website on a dial-up modem and just looking at it and being like, this looks amazing.
Just plugging phone lines into my Dreamcast thinking it would work. I now that I think about it, I think I might have played Sonic R on the Saturn for like less than 10 minutes because of the display demo at Toys R Us.
Oh, cool.
And I can just picture in my head that memory, and so I at least tried. I probably didn't get the hang of it then, but I was like, wait, oh, they do have a Sonic on this? And, I didn't know any better.
I've played the Saturn version once or twice, but I still prefer the PC version, because as I remember, the Saturn version just had a lot of, like, let's say N64 fog.
Yeah. The specifically the version I have, one of the default mods is it takes the good things from the Saturn, which I think is it has some more coherent character textures and a few other things, but I think the PC version, which the Gems collection port is mostly based on, is more stable and looks better. And on the the modded version, you can enable like what is it? Draw distance, and just like, hey, nice. Load the entire track at once. Something definitely we take for granted now.
I mean, thankfully Sonic games have got past worries about pop-in and wait.
Oh.
Nah. It does look a lot better than you'd think. Maybe not as well as it might have used to, but yeah. And the thing what we don't realize is, I thought that this is done mainly by Traveler's Tales, right? Who are also doing Sonic.
It's a split. Like, my understanding is that Sonic Team did a lot of like the art assets and the level design, and Traveler's Tales was mostly programming and implementation.
As we've discussed on our Tales Doll special, that the Tails doll made famous by this game, but probably already existed because they were making art assets for Sonic Adventure at the time as well.
Yeah, like a lot of these because there are a few new characters. We've got pretty much the gang from Sonic Drift 2, except for Fang. Go away. There are lots of like basically evil versions of characters now. Because Metal Sonic's back, and also they need one for Tails, so they gave him a doll version just because. And also there is the Beast, that is Metal Knuckles, who is a hell of a design. I love that design. And you can see the Sonic Team design choices there. That is really well done.
Yeah.
And also there's Egg Robo, who's shit. Now, I actually really love Egg Robo's design, but he does not play well in this game. I've tried.
I love his little starting line dance.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's the best part about him.
Do do do.
Do, 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 do.
And most of the models in game do have a couple of just different angles where they look a little off. I love how scrunkly Metal Sonic is.
Yeah.
His face is a little mushed and his spines are a little pointing in the wrong directions. I love it for some reason. Eggman too. He never stops that big menacing grin. It's just baked onto him. And I guess Amy's old car, the Breeze, died, or she got it painted and had his sapience removed.
I just got really tired of him asking for food.
Yeah. Well, she needed a new vehicle that could hover over water. And,
yeah, kind of
couldn't do that.
Kind of All Stars Racing transformed a little bit with the way the wheels sort of like rise up. Yep. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like everybody does have their own unique abilities. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles have spin dashes. Tails can fly. Knuckles can glide. Amy can spend 10 rings to do a boost. Robotnik can spend 10 rings to shoot a homing missile. Some of them definitely have more helpful abilities than others. Like if you have Metal Knuckles, he basically does everything Metal Sonic can do and also glide. Tails Doll just floats over water with no speed penalty and can float.
Yeah, he doesn't get affected
higher
by terrain or anything like that. I don't think even the weather affects him.
He's a ghost.
Actually, does the weather affect anyone? I feel like I've slipped around a little bit when it's raining.
Yeah, I think the weather does have like slight effects on the terrain, make it a little more slippery. Everybody I know just always sets it to snow so they can run right over the water.
Yeah, because it freezes. I do love Tails Doll. Like, he has a unique run animation that basically looks like a giant human hand is just holding him from his little doodly bop, or like maybe right under, like how you would make a stuffed animal run around, and he's just swinging back and forth. That we have covered. There's a reason the Tails Doll makes such an impression, because what a wild and crazy guy.
Wild and crazy guy.
Still just a weird thing in this game. I love it.
I can understand Eggman like not taking Tails seriously and just like, instead of a robot, it's just a doll with robot parts. He looks silly.
I feel like we did joke about that on that episode. We're just like, fuck him.
The funny thing is, like, Eggman hates Sonic, he's his rival, but he hates Tails because he might be smarter than him. Like, I'm not. You know what you get, Tails? Look, this little bullshit stuffed animal. Look, that's you.
Mother, I'm here to eat Tails.
I do find it interesting that as you unlock characters, if you choose to play as the secret ones, you only will have only secret characters will appear in races where you play as secret characters, but also they slowly remove the other characters from the race based on how fast they are. So like Amy's the slowest, so she's the first one to go when you unlock somebody else, and then Eggman, and then Tails, and then Knuckles.
Sexist.
Yep. That's what you get for trying to cheese the game with the cool characters.
So it is kind of a case where if you want to play as the secret characters, the thing that makes the most sense is to unlock, Metal Knuckles first, and then unlock Tails Doll and Egg Robo before you unlock Metal Sonic, so that you don't have to worry as much about them overtaking you.
God help you if you somehow unlock Supersonic in the vanilla game before any of that, because then he just plops right down and it ruins your time. That is a specific code in the PC version that instead makes it so Supersonic will not show up in regular GP races as
because there's not a reward at that point. And you had to work to get him. You got to get all the emeralds, and that's not easy. You got to get the emeralds and get in first place. So
yep.
The other characters, you just got to collect tokens.
And the emeralds are all hidden behind, shortcut gates that require, 20 to 50 rings. So it's like you have to not only maintain your lead, but also make sure that you are getting enough rings to open up the gates. And if you're a weirdo like me who tries to get all the emeralds and all the tokens in one run
at the same time.
Don't get me wrong. I've played this game enough that I can do it every time because I'm a freak, but it's not easy.
We can all relate here on this podcast.
I mean, you've
now.
played enough Diddy Kong Racing at this point to know how to go off course and collect weird, inconvenient coins and then try and finish the race.
Oh no, these are way easier than the silver coins in Diddy Kong Racing.
That's true. There's no Greenwood Village in this one.
Y'all were talking about that, and I remember thinking that same thing finishing up my playthrough. Like, man, y'all ain't got nothing on them silver coins.
I mean, just the fact that you can, place in third or higher and still get the challenge race for getting all the tokens. That's
which I did not know. I thought emeralds and coins, you're either first or last.
Talladega Nights. The secret character in Sonic Kart, Ricky Bobby.
I'll get you, Ricky Bobby.
Help me, Tails doll, get the fire off me.
That is where the action adventure part of this action adventure racer comes in, is that, yeah, you can just, you can win the GPs and the races by just focusing on that. But yeah, if you want all those cool unlockables, you have to go out of your way to find these Sonic tokens. You collect 5 and finish in at least third, and that's the challenge race to unlock one of the characters. And then there are often Chaos Emeralds. Funny enough, there's like multiple stages that have 2 Chaos Emeralds.
All but the first stage have 2.
Yeah, so even if you get one and you're like, oh, whoa, that was one, and you'll have to go back and find that other. And then in order to keep the Chaos Emeralds, yes, you do indeed have to also finish in first place, which is probably why I default to Sonic 99% of the time I play this game, just because he is the fastest.
See, my go-to is always Knuckles, because I feel like gliding makes it easier to take a lot of those shortcuts.
Yeah. It probably does.
I'd use Knuckles on the 3rd level, because not only is it a Knuckles level, there's like a one point near the end of the race where you can just glide over and get to the finish line before anyone else.
Oh, yeah. I know the exact part you're talking about in Regal Ruin. It's the game wants you to take a sharp left, and then, there's a bank, and like, nope, if you jump and glide and hold the drift button, you can skip all that and go right past the end goal. It's so good. I don't know if that's intentional strats or not, but this game does have a little bit of a meta.
Yeah, like I like that you have to kind of manage your ring acquisition as well, because you're like using them to open up shortcut gates for collectibles or just shortcuts in general, while also saving them for like boost pads, which sometimes are helpful. Sometimes it might be easier to just take another route. It varies. And, I think that that's an interesting mechanic. It's even if, it doesn't always work well in execution.
Yeah, I do appreciate that the items in the game are mostly passive? Because I know there's a speed boost, a shield, a magnet shield, and various amounts of rings. And I don't think there's any. Like, you can't shoot anything, can you? That's just Eggman and
Only
Egg
if
Robo.
you're playing as Eggman and Egg Robo.
Okay, I actually kind of appreciate that, just as a and it might just be because I have the Crossworlds beta in mind, where I'm like, there are too many freaking items. Oh my god. But I think if, like, in addition, if you were trying to get these emeralds and secret gates and tokens, and you were also getting hit with missiles and stuff, I think that would just be too frustrating. Or I even wonder, with the way the layouts are, there are so many shortcuts, and especially the later ones, if they just couldn't make it work anyway. And so they said, let's not focus on that. So I really like how the items work. It's, it's not imperative that you get an item every time and you can still run a good race.
I do feel like the layouts are a bit clunky and clumsy sometimes. Once you get used to drifting around, it's not so bad. But there are many times where I'm just like, okay, I'm running, I've got some good momentum. Oh, I need to turn right here, and it's like a complete square turn. I have to be like, okay.
Yeah.
And of course, could be you're thinking like I'm playing like a 3D Sonic game, but what I'm forgetting is I'm actually playing a car racer, because your characters will handle like tanks. You have to sort of like move them around slowly but surely at times. So you've really got to keep that momentum going.
I mean, that's actually fairly apt, considering that, from my understanding, this was originally like a Formula One racing game that they later modified and turned into Sonic R.
Interesting.
Goodness. The vanilla mini map doesn't help either, because it actually shows you all the shortcuts, but it just kind of looks like spaghetti.
Yeah.
Not incredibly helpful.
It's not, but like, I feel like if you see a, shortcut gate or whatever, you immediately know, okay, that's the route I need to go just because it exists. So it's usually a safe bet. But then there's other ones where it's not as obvious. Like, you have kind of multiple branching pathways at the start of, Radical City, where it's like, okay, do I take this path along the bottom, like next to the river's edge? Do I take the upper path, the lower path? Do I shortcut across to this little jump over the building here? There's different options you can take. Like, I appreciate that there's room to kind of figure out your own optimized routes in the game, and makes it a little bit more interesting. Although, once you know those optimized routes, the only reason you would take the slower ones is if you're like me and you like starting a fresh file and just unlocking everything all over again, so that you have to like take a different route every lap, which shakes things up a little bit, but
working up the optimized routes is very Sonic in that respect. Like, oh, I've got to find this one and that one and take this route, and sometimes take the above route, but
that's true. But I feel like finding those routes and taking them is not as satisfying in this game as it is in a lot of the other classic or even many of the modern games.
Yeah.
But I'm also realizing that we've been spending all this time talking about the Saturn version and the PC version. We've not talked about the superior version of Sonic R, which is, of course, the Tiger Electronics handheld version.
Oh, look at that little guy. Oh, that's great.
Oh, man. I don't think I've ever seen a picture of this.
Just like a left button, a right button, a jump button, and a run button.
The proto-Sonic Dash, if you will.
Oh, boy. One thing I definitely kind of wanted to bring up before, apt that there's a whatever that Sonic Adventure also LCD game is, that this game has the interesting, I guess alongside Sonic Jam, but more of this, of being the literal bridge between classic and modern Sonic. Like, the official soundtrack album for Sonic R uses a piece of modern Sonic art that you would say, oh, that was only an adventure. Like, nope, 1997, there he is, green eyes, long spines. And while that isn't,
they're getting there.
That isn't present in this. I think a lot of the renders for the game and some of the promo art do have that cool in between that I like, of like, oh, this is like a it's like Sonic's in the middle of puberty. Not really, but I just really like that. And, like I said, the whole Tails doll thing and how Sonic Team was quite involved with this game. Yeah, I like it. I think it's also a cool bit of Sonic history.
Yeah. And of course, the soundtrack it's divisive, but let's be real. It rules.
It's fun.
It's the biggest export from the whole thing is the music. Not
to be mean, but only divisive amongst morons and dummies.
I find it very funny that, Richard Jakes wrote Supersonic Racing, had TJ Davis do the vocals, and Yuji Naka liked it so much, he's like, yo, you need to put vocals in every single one of these songs.
Hell yeah. They are so catchy. And I mean, great music. And like, yes, you can listen to the instrumental versions. I cannot imagine these songs without TJ Davis's vocals, though. What a great sound.
I've heard her perform live with Richard Jakes on the keyboard at what I believe it was the first Summer of Sonic, the prototype version, and
Oh, cool.
yep, still had it back then. Of course, that was a long time ago now, and I try not to think about how long ago it was. But yeah, man,
I know how long ago it was. You don't want the answer to that.
No, fair enough.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'll try not to think about that. Kicks ass. It's so good. It's some of the best music I've ever heard in Sonic. I legitimately love some of this. One of the funny things about it, though, is like, most of the tracks are fantastic, but everyone remembers Can You Feel the Sunshine? It does feel like it's got some of the most first-pass lyrics I've ever heard in a song.
Yeah.
Don't you
It does, but it's also incredibly memorable. And originally that
it is.
stage was going to be set at sunset, but they changed it to sunshine because of that song.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh.
We're going to do a Sunset Island and Resort Island. All these levels start with R, by the way. It's because, Sonic R.
Ah.
Oh, of course, I never caught that either.
Can you see the sun is shining on me? It makes me feel so free, so alive. It makes me want to survive. And the sky, it makes me feel so high. The bad times pass me by, because today is gonna be a brighter day.
Amen, sister. I hear you.
It's great, though. It sounds fantastic. It just makes me laugh.
There's a couple of lines that like that. I think it's the slant rhyming to a place with just race O, that it's not a bad lyric. I just, in the song, I'm like, oh, that's fine. To a place, can feel my heart just race. Oh, I'd love it. Can You Feel the Sunshine? Supersonic Racing, also the one that has had its legacy right beside it. And I mean, the thing is, all the songs are really good. I love the Living in the City and all the other ones, and man, just very, very nice.
You've got to survive. You've got to keep the dream. They like survive. Actually, you know what? The lyrics of Sonic are very relevant right now. We've got to survive. We've got to push through. We've got to make it real.
We've got to work it out. Got to talk it out. Talk it out.
Bless you, Jack.
You've got to keep the dream alive where everything is free, can't you see? Sonic R is pro-communism.
Yes.
The good kind, though.
The true luxury gay space.
I was about to say, it's like
Yeah.
the way you described it
In our Star Trek future.
The kind the CIA hasn't destroyed openly. Sonic R.
Sonic R.
Oh, the levels, by the way, Resort Island. It's an island. We've talked about it on our summer episode.
Yes.
It looks
We
nice.
did.
Can you feel the sunshine? Only when the sun is actually shining and the weather hasn't cycled out to be snow or rain or nighttime.
Which, if you're not a coward, you will turn the random weather on. So every race has something different.
I do, every time.
I do like the weather effects, actually. Like, and unfortunately, I did mention before that the rain does look like bubbles.
Yeah.
It doesn't
cute. I
quite
like
hit
it.
the right. So I do like the little storm effects, though. It's fun. I
mean,
like
it's very
when
similar
you can
to
change
how the
weather
rain
on
looked
games.
in 3D, so...
Yeah, fair enough. Maybe just rain looked like that in the classic Sonic universe.
Kind of like the Miyazaki tears that are just like gigantic water drops.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Weren't we just talking about that infamous Sonic cover on our last episode of
Yep.
let's put water all over Sonic's face? It'll
Oh,
look
no.
fine. Oh, yeah. I forgot. I think I have a rip of the Work It Out single vinyl, which actually has different vocals. It's an artist named Dee Dee Brave. Yeah, but it's the only Sonic music release that has tracks exclusive to the vinyl.
That's fascinating. I definitely want to hear that.
You're the one I can depend on. No one else can put it right. I'm someone you can rely on. 'Cause we're not giving up without a fight. Work it out, think about it. Work it out, talk about it. Work it out, make it happen. Let's work
Radical City, this was probably my favorite stage back when I was a kid. I always thought this one was so cool.
Yeah, this one has some of the most satisfying shortcuts because you just jump off the road. You let your intrusive thoughts win and you steer off the paved highway.
I tend to use Tails on this one, partly because he can fly so he can recover a little bit. Even if Tails is constantly... Unfortunately, Tails does have his flying sound effect whenever he's going. So you're... But it's fine. It's a small price to pay.
It's not as bad as most of the robot characters having that going the whole time.
Yeah. Just that low jet engine.
If you don't take shortcuts, you'll miss the huge feature of this level, which is an enormous pinball course with Sonic render on it. It's very cool.
I mean, you got to go there if you want to get one of the tokens. Gave me some Sonic 3D vibes because there's a Sonic 3D Sonic, I think, that was printed on there.
Regal Ruin, I think, is probably the one I liked playing the least back in the day.
It's got a lot of corners to accidentally get caught in if you're doing your first playthrough.
I think that was the big thing for me. It's really a sort of a weird layout where it's you really do have to do 3 completely different routes if you're doing the all emeralds, all tokens, one run thing, where it's you got to do the spring to get up to the emerald hidden in behind the 20 gate inside the pyramid, and then take the loop out. And then you've got to, cross over the water and go through that little hole in the side of the wall that's very easy to miss. And then for the third route, you got to go all the way across to the other ramp and everything. It's weird, just trying to kind of figure out the optimal way through. And I'm not a huge fan. Also, but then, like you said, that big Knuckles gliding spot where you can just skip that whole...
skip the whole last section.
Yeah.
I know we were joking about it earlier. The lyrics for Back in Time for Regal Ruin do go kind of hard.
Yeah.
The first opening is, sometimes I ask myself, what am I doing here? I think of all the reasons, but it's still not clear. I look at places to go. There's nothing near. So take me away from this, because this place I'll hardly miss. Again, I feel ya. So take me back in time. Now, I just played this, and of course my brain is scrambled eggs. There is some Egyptian, ancient...
It looked like a Knuckles Sphinxes, maybe.
Yeah.
Is this again, this parallel development? Was there some, let's again associate Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Sonic Adventure, the echidnas and ancient civilizations? I just think
that makes a lot of sense.
It does give me, it does give a little Mystic Ruins going on in there. I quite like it.
I like the very beginning has so many alternate paths. You've got the upper that you can use as a mild shortcut that also unlocks I think there's a token and an emerald up there. There's the main path, which requires some jumping. And then there's over to the right, if you cross the water, there's the little underground tunnel that leads to some steps to jump up on. And there's even 2 little alternate shortcuts there. And again, if you're only rooting this one out for the first time, you're probably going to get frustrated, get stuck in a corner. But you can do some pretty slick moves if you know where you're going.
And then there's Reactive Factory, which is, oh boy.
This was definitely my least favorite back in the day because I would get lost and get stuck in the area where you have to stop, turn around, hit a bumper to get back on the main thing just to get a token. I tend to like it more these days now that I know where all those paths lead.
I was gonna say, are you guys like me where you hit the little jump at the start that's supposed to carry you into the loop and then around the corner, but you as soon as you bounce off the little thing, you immediately start turning to try and skip that entire section?
Absolutely. If you hold right on the control stick, and hold the drift button, you basically end up on the last leg of the course and skip all of that. In fact, I'm pretty sure the computer-controlled characters just straight up do that too, so that's how they catch up to you.
There's definitely a part on this level where I'm like trying to spring up. I think it's when you're going upwards, and then I just try springing up and landing on the track, and I fall down right between it, and I'm stuck at the bottom. Like, well, there's no salvaging this run.
And then the final track, Radiant Emerald, which it's a very pretty track, but it's also very simplistic compared to the other four, I would say.
Yeah, there's nothing to find, nothing to unlock. I mean, other than the doors, which just give you shortcuts.
Yeah, some shortcuts.
Yeah. But it's basically
shortcuts.
just a figure eight when you get down to it.
They're trying to do a sort of rainbow road, but it's like a rainbow road that's safe, actually. It's fine. You don't fall off on it.
Yes, you can't fall off. I like the shifting colors is very nice. I can't tell if that's a PC only thing, looking at some of these screenshots. I like the spacey background, and one of the little mods I have, which is someone created almost 10 years ago. It just puts a little graphic that fits right in of the space colony arc up, I think, next to the planet with the rings. You know, technically not lore accurate, but again, I appreciate this game
but
as
it's a mod. Who
bridging
gives a
the
crap?
gap. Yeah, exactly. I like that. It's like if they re-released that with that there, I'd be like, oh, look at there. I love it. I want to give shout outs to the default course thing, which is Diamond in the Sky, which is a lovely song.
Yeah.
But if you're anything like me, you have heard its other the other song that plays on this stage more than that one.
I mean, it's hard not to hear Supersonic Racing, especially considering how often it gets reused in later games.
Yeah.
Yes. I was going to say, especially if you play like Luke and you've unlocked everything by the time you make it to Radiant Emerald, you will play as Supersonic, and it plays Supersonic Racing. And Supersonic feels like he's made for this course specifically, as you drift through those big turns and open those shortcuts, trying to keep your rings up, because if you run... It has the same 50 rings that count down. And I think if you run out of rings as Supersonic, you don't transform back, but you do stop flying and have to pick up rings in order to get back to your top speed. I believe that's how it works.
Yeah, that's basically Sonic R in a nutshell. And I think it's, it definitely has aged in a lot of areas, but like, I think the controls are pretty, there's definitely, if they were to do a new version of that, it would have to be very, very different in terms of how they made it run, no pun intended. But I think the vibes are still just
yes,
fantastic.
I would like to at least see, if we had to pick and choose like the thing that might happen, I'd at least like to see the Gems Collection version available somewhere.
I think more people should get to play it, because I feel like this is a game that if you had it and you were waiting for a proper Sonic game, you probably spend a lot of time getting used to it and learning all the tricks and whatnot and what to do, because honestly the game is not very long, so you need to have all these little extras to get used to basically get a game out of it while you're trying to find games on the Saturn that aren't just Panzer Dragoon. So Sonic R is a nice little placeholder. I feel like it deserves its little place in history of Sonic. I don't know if we're ever going to get a Sonic game like this again, because I think they've just decided, no, Sonic should just, if we're doing a racing one, Sonic needs to be in a car. Otherwise, it's just a regular Sonic game. So, whatever. But it's a nice little experiment.
Ironically, the closest we would ever come again to, on-foot racing in Sonic is Sonic Rivals, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, I do think, I wouldn't stake on it, but like I think someone mentioned earlier, some of the way Sonic drifts and the way he goes around corners does remind me of like the systems they implemented in Unleashed and in most like modern Sonic games too. Just like, maybe there's a tiny little bit of Sonic R DNA in there. Yeah, and I mean, it is a short little game. You can unlock everything in the main campaign, and like if you're like Luke, in less than 20 minutes. For the first time, I did go into the time trial mode, which actually has a lot of fun little options. Like you have just regular time trial, no items, none of the shortcuts are open, race your best. There's the mirror mode as well, the reverse, which is pretty cool. And then there's the balloon hunting one and the tag 4 characters?
Yeah.
The balloon hunting one is a little odd. I think there's like 17 balloons scattered throughout. You only need 5, but also they don't all spawn at once. But it's at least an excuse to explore the level itself more.
It feels like an extension of what they were doing with the tokens.
Yes, exactly. And the tag 4 characters I didn't play. I assume you have to chase down and tag.
Yeah, it's literally that. I've played that a handful of times where.
And not even to get into the versus mode, which I'm sure none of us were able to play because we all played these alone. Wah. But
Don't say it like
I'm
that.
sure that is kind of fun. I'm sure it's fun. I know in the you can adjust the like split screen horizontally or vertically, and I bet that's fun.
I think the last time I played versus mode with another human being was with you and 2 of our friends at like Youmacon 2013 or something.
Oh man.
Oh wow. I think I remember that, yeah. I think we made a pact that nobody gets to pick Super Sonic.
that does sound right.
Yeah, Sonic R, man, I still like it a lot. I think it absolutely does have a learning curve. I would recommend people just if you can, do the modified PC version that fixes a little bit of that. But it's just so charming and cute, and it makes me think of I don't know, especially that soundtrack. You said, man, there's a lot of... Was that just the 90s where we were like, hey, let's solve all the world's problems? And now we look back like, well, that didn't work. Maybe we should try again. Thanks, Sonic R soundtrack. Good times, good stuff.
So they were all right, those games, weren't they?
Yeah, like I said, I think that all 3 games are outdone by some of the racing games that came much later, but for what they are and for the time they came out, I think they have a lot of charm to them, and I wouldn't mind going back for, 20 minutes at a time maybe once a year or so at best.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like especially for me playing these games, they're definitely charming, and I enjoyed my time with them. And I think it's because I have the benefit of having played games as long as I have and knowing that like, okay, these games are of their time and I can appreciate them now from a sort of nostalgic point of view. I'm not going to say, like as positive as we have been, I'm not going to say that these are like the best racing games ever. And I'm sure nobody ever thinks that,
absolutely.
But, and especially of Sonic R, like, as charming as that game is in retrospect, the controls are still a little wonky to deal with sometimes. But I think all these games still are worth, putting some time in, and especially like, pushing aside any of the bias of the internet and any of the old jokes about it, and like, just kind of going in with as fresh of a mindset as you can into these, and trying to, like we said earlier, play the game on its terms and be with it where it is, and you'll find something fun within it.
Just play games for yourself.
Yeah.
Just give that a go sometime.
I mean, honestly,
it's actually, to be fair, it's a little hard to do with some of these. Like Sonic Drift ones, you got no excuse if you've got Sonic Origins. They're right there. Sonic R might be a little trickier.
I think these games are incredibly charming, and I look forward to hopefully seeing maybe a little bit more influence from them in the years to come. Probably not that much, but we'll see.
Now, I've just realized Sonic Drift does have a fun little fan remake out there in the wild, at least a demo of it.
Yeah, a demo that will probably never be finished, but still.
Probably, maybe not. But it's by the folks, Noah Copeland, I think, who worked on, who made the Triple Trouble remake. I've not played it. I've seen a look at it, and it's best to say it's a reimagining of both games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
what they could have been. It's a lot more Mode 7 based. Looks really cool. It's got all the characters from Sonic Drift. It's really creative. Only a few tracks available, but it's cool to see someone doing something with Sonic Drift, because there was definitely potential there that was heavily hamstrung by the fact that it was on a Game Gear.
Yeah.
And probably rushed, and certainly in the case of the first one, rushed out. So I just like seeing when people take what Sonic games that had something going for them and sort of expanding out on that.
Yeah.
And we're at a good point in time now where we have a lot of talented, fan developers who are making original and remake Sonic fan games. And, within the next few years, we're probably going to get some really good stuff based on Sonic Drift and, you know what, maybe even Sonic R. Because, I posted a video in our chat of, there's a mod called Sonic R Mania that I think it's mostly cosmetic, but it still looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just swapping out some of the textures for the levels and the music to basically make them like Green Hill and Studiopolis and Mirage Saloon and stuff. And it's pretty cool.
Kind of a encore mode.
Yeah, so that's fun. I'm glad that they still have a legacy, even if they are just. They're all right. I've stand on the fact we have been they are all right, and the music in Sonic R will never leave our brains forever. So it's got that going for it.
We always have the sunshine.
I know. I feel like we've said a few times on some of these older ones that there's a difference between saying, oh no, this old game is one of my favorites, everybody should play it, and saying no, you should give it a shot with an open mind.
Yes, absolutely.
It is absolutely. We said that as much on our Knuckles Chaotix episode. Is it going to stand near the rest of the classics? No, but is it worth checking out? Absolutely. I think so. I think it is worth booting up and just taking it for what it is.
Exactly.
They may be Sonic R may be no Daytona USA, but the music is just as catchy. So.
Yep.
So that's been our discussion about these 3 classic Sonic racing games. Like we've been saying over and over, just go check them out. Give them a try, have an open mindset, and give yourself time to get accustomed to the controls, because they're not going to be as tight as you would want racing games to be, but these are old school racing games, and they were still figuring them out back then. So, yeah, give them a shot. But as we wrap up this show, you can find all of us on the different socials. You can find Sonic F on Blue Sky, and you can find me across the socials as RockTheJake and on Twitch as Mr. RockTheJake. You
can find me in various places at CyberLink420.
Like OnlyFans.
I told you already, I do not have an OnlyFans bod.
You can find me on Blue Sky as JeremyBaker.actor and around the internet as GameBuddy, sometimes with a 123.
And you can find me all across the internet at Faulerro. That's Faulero.
And special thanks, as always, to Amy Waters for the use of our theme song from her album Gotta Go Slow. You can check out more of her work on YouTube and Bandcamp. And at time of recording, we just had a Bandcamp Friday. So please always be aware of when a Bandcamp Friday is about to happen, especially if you have favorite artists that you love to support, because all the money that you use to buy their albums and their songs goes directly to them, which is freaking awesome. And also, Amy Waters is on the socials, so check out Instagram and all the good stuff with Amy. Please remember to subscribe, review, share, and all that good stuff for the episodes. Because it's the shilling part of the episode. Please share our stuff, listen, but it helps. And as much as we love getting together and doing this because it's therapeutic and fun, it's also nice to know that people are listening and engaging. And speaking of engaging, if you have played any of these games and if you have opinions and thoughts on them, especially Sonic R, please comment. We'd like to read them and see what you think about it.
Yeah, we love getting together almost as much as Jake loves that jingle.
I sure do love that jingle.
Tell us all you want. If you think about these games, work it out, talk about it.
But for next time, we're gonna have a very highly philosophical discussion about about Japanese Sonic versus Western Sonic. I think that's going to be a pretty good kind of weighty episode on our end.
It's kind of like part 3 of the trilogy of first doing the Sonic Bibles, then talking about who is Sonic, and now getting into not just when we say Japanese Sonic versus Western Sonic, we mean in general, not just Sonic the character. It's time to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Sonic is in two different places and how those have been merged together now, but also, is it really? What's going on? Where's the balance at? Or is the Japanese side winning too much? Is the nasty American side taking too much precedence? We're going to get into it next time. I'm very excited to talk about the weirdness of Sonic's split personality and also world and universe that comes from two different companies in two different countries working on him. That'll be fun.
And certainly not controversial in any capacity.
No, not at all. Very friendly, very caring. But please look forward to that. And as for today, I have been RockTheJake.
I'm CyberLink.
I'm GameBuddy.
And I'm Faulerro. And hey, this race is fun and my car is cool.
It sure is. This has been The Hill is Always Greener, and we will see you on the other side. And racers, begin!
Go!
Sonic arm or like Sonic arse? Wait till the end.
My tire's flat.
Oh no.